Hey everybody, welcome back. Let's get right into it. This is going to be the third video on the installation of my leading edge recognition light in my wing. It's time I get a lot of this little stuff done. The airplane's almost done, I would say, getting close to paint, but I have so many little tiny details that I need to finish up. And I've made a list of them all, and that's what I'm trying to blow through now, is get each one of those little things done. So this obviously has been on my mind for quite a while. I want to get this done. And I've come up with an idea about this lens, which I'm going to show you here next. So if you guys saw my other videos, you saw that my original plan was to mount this on the outside of the wing, like this, and then build a fiberglass fairing around the perimeter of it. The reason I was going to mount it on the outside was because when I put it on the inside, it just doesn't fit to the shape of the wing, and there's some spaces up in the front here. I've put this in the oven a couple times and heated it up, and then while it was warm, I brought it out here and tried to press it on here to let it cool down and maintain the shape of the wing, but it really doesn't work too well doing that. I would rather have this lens on the inside than on the outside, because obviously making that fiberglass fairing is just going to make it's going to take a lot of time. And I think it looks nicer on the inside. So my plan today is I'm going to heat this up in the oven again, maybe leave it in there a little bit longer so it's softer. And then I'm going to put it in the wing like this and then press forward here. And then hopefully that will conform it to this shape. So that's the plan for the lens. All right, so before I work on that lens, there's one other thing I want to do first, and I've already started it, so I'll finish it now and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, so these are the pieces that go inside the wing. It goes just like this, and it gets riveted on the inside, and then the light sits on here. I've been kind of wondering what to do with these pieces. I didn't know if I should just leave them blank aluminum like that or paint them or whatnot. And one of the reasons why is I probably would have left it just aluminum, but this piece here, these pieces here I ordered from Zenith, and this piece here I just made out of a big piece of aluminum that I had. I cut it out and then bent the sides to the right shape and everything, but it wasn't a perfect piece of aluminum. There were some scratches on it. Well, you probably can't tell because I've actually sanded it down now to smooth it out so it looks more scratched than it was. But it might not have looked right in the wing with the scratches on it. But instead of painting it, I decided just to wrap it in this yellow vinyl. The wings will be blue. You guys, I'm sure, know by now I'm doing a Blue Angels paint scheme. It's going to be based on their C-130, so the wings will be all blue. And I figured it might look kind of cool when you look in the lens on the leading edge there, that these will be yellow. It's pretty much the same as like the Blue Angels yellow color. So anyway, my goal for today is I want to get this wrapped, and then we'll put it in the wing and see how it looks, and I'm going to work on that lens. So if you guys are going to wrap anything like this, it's very easy to do. You can buy rolls of this vinyl material for pretty cheap. Go to signwarehouse.com. That's where I buy my vinyl. I think you can get a 5-yard roll for around $20. They've got probably 100 different colors. You'll need a X-Acto blade, pair of scissors, and then what you're going to also need is, depending on what you're doing, but you're probably going to need a squeegee. You don't want to use a plastic squeegee like this to go over the vinyl because you'll scratch the vinyl. So these ones are made with a felt. This one's made with a felt cover on it, and this is just a big, thick felt one too. A couple years ago, I had a Ford Mustang and I put racing stripes on it, so I bought these to make the stripes. But anyway, this is what I'm going to use to spread it out and get the air bubbles out. So one of the tricks I do is when I peel this yellow off, I'm only going to peel off about maybe a third of the backing. You want to cut this too. You never ever want to tear this back part, because if you tear it, you'll have little residue left over on the vinyl. So we'll just slice that part off. And the reason I'm doing this, only a third of it, is because I don't want the whole vinyl to lay down on the the metal part yet. So we'll just overlap this about here. Now the whole trick with this obviously is when you put this down, you want to get all the air bubbles out. And if you do get a couple bubbles, like there's already a couple little bubbles in there, there's a couple things you can do. You can peel it up a little bit and press the air out. Or if it's all done and you have air bubbles, you can poke a little hole in the bubble with this, push the air out, and you'll never know. So now that that part is on, I'm going to remove the rest of this backing. And I'm just going to work my way down. That might be hard for you guys to see in the camera, but all I'm doing is kind of working my way down and pushing that air out as I go. All right, so here's the top is on here. Now just work it around the sides. There are a couple little bubbles around here that I'll probably have to just like this one. Well, this one here I can pull off the edge, let that air out, and then push it back down. Here's one right here. I'm just going to poke a hole with a knife and then push the air out. The other thing about vinyl, which is kind of neat too, is even though even right now there's a couple very small bubbles around here, over time they will come out on their own. So now that it's on like this, I'm just going to, I think what I'm going to do is cut the edge, or the corners I mean, like this, and that, and I can even work this corner down. I don't know if this is the same vinyl they use to wrap cars or not. Once this edge is done, I'm going to take my blade here and slice right along there. So we're getting there. I won't bore you with the rest of the details, but I'll finish this up and then I'll be back with you. All right, here we go. It's all done. I've riveted on the sides here. This just gets inserted in the wing. And let's go see how it looks. So I wanted to film this part for you, but I had to do it so quick I forgot to turn the camera on. I left the lens in the oven. I heated it to 350 degrees. When it got to 350, I put this in the oven for probably about 1 minute. And what I did was I laid it on that cookie sheet, just as you saw, and I waited until I was looking in the oven until the lens just started flattening out like that. It got so soft it was flattening out. The problem is you only have seconds really until that starts to cool and harden up. So I had to grab it out of the oven, run in through my garage into the hangar, and then put it in here, put it in the wing, and then press it out to shape like this. But it worked perfect. It's if I hold it just like this, it's got a, or you know, even if the holes aren't in the bottom yet, so I'm kind of pushing it forward a little bit. But once I screw this in, it fits perfectly now to the shape of the wing, which is really good because now I can put this lens in the wing instead of having it on top, which I think will look a lot better. So if your lens does not fit your wing and you're doing this same thing, put it in the oven for 350 for about 1 minute, run it out, put it on the inside, push out on the two corners like this with your one hand, and just hold it for 5 minutes or so until it's dry. Or not dry, but you know, cool down. You can see how nice that looks in there. There's virtually no gap around the front or the edges. But one thing you'll notice if you look on the inside, I need to trim the bottom because you can see how close it comes to the holes for the yellow mount I have now. So I just need to trim about maybe 1/4 of an inch off the bottom of the lens, and I can rivet this baby together. Here is a final test fit before I rivet it, just to make sure everything does fit together. And it does, it fits very nicely. On this edge here, on the very front, there's just a extremely small but very tiny gap. I guess that's as good as it's going to get. But I'm happy with it, it looks good. I think once the wing is painted blue, that yellow inside will look nice. All right, the last part of this is I made 2 of these pieces here, and what they do is they go on the inside, kind of just under where these clecos are, so it gives it a little bit of the lens, a little bit of a backing. So what I'll do is, if you can see through the window, this piece here will just go flat on the bottom like this. Rivets will go up through the bottom or down through the top, and it just gives this you know, this metal piece just lets the lens kind of sandwich between 2 pieces of aluminum. Well, I'm happy to tell you that this is 100% done. It's riveted on. And this light is very, very bright, even in the daytime. So you'll see that it just acts as a recognition light. Just something to catch somebody's attention, maybe if the airplane's in the pattern. But all in all, I'm really happy with how it came out. Now, would I do this again? Absolutely not in a million years. There's other LED lights you can get that are very small that would be much easier to mount in the cowling of the airplane. This was a lot of work to do. I'm glad it's done. It looks great, but no, I would not do it again. Okay guys, as you're watching the amazing light show, thanks again for watching. I'm glad I finally got this done. I know a lot of you have sent me emails or left comments wondering when I'm going to finish part 3 of this installation. It's done, complete. I'm ready to move on. And one of the things I wanted to mention is one of the reasons this took so long to do was because I just got to a point to where I didn't know how I was going to finish it as far as mounting the lens and even the interior parts, if I was going to paint them or wrap them or leave them bare aluminum. So I guess my tip for you guys is, if you're working on something and you get to a point where you don't really know how to continue, I mean, obviously you can ask questions online or go to the internet forums and all that kind of stuff, but just realize that your brain will work on solutions even when you're not consciously thinking about this. And I think for me, it just took my brain kind of a long time to come up with the idea of forming the lens from the inside of the wing instead of the outside of the wing, and then just wrapping it with yellow. So give your brain time to work. It will come up with solutions. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again on the next video.